Well, Congressman Jim Jordan is the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee in the U.S. Congress. He represents Ohio's beautiful 4th District, and he's got a habit of speaking truth to power. You may recall him calling out Attorney General Merrick Garland recently when Garland was sicking the FBI on some concerned parents. Watch.
In recent months, there's been a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, threats of violence.
Yes.
When did you first review the data showing this so-called disturbing uptick?
So I read the letter, and we have been seeing over time threats.
Whoa. I didn't ask you. So you read the letter. That's your source?
Ooh, I loved it. I got to tell you, Congressman Jordan is just the kind of courageous leader that we need in government to push back against big government overreach. We're very happy to have him with us right here tonight. Would you welcome, please, Congressman Jim Jordan? You know what? I think these are all Ohio voters.
Yeah, they're from the 4th District. That's great.
They love you. Hey, just for the record, I've never received a welcome like that, and I've been hosting this show for 4 years.
I know you have.
No, you know, I understand why people truly appreciate you, and it's not just an infatuation with the celebrity status that you've created, but being a very effective congressman. You've got the guts to stand up to power and speak boldly. We just saw an example of that. You made a comment recently. You said you didn't think anybody could be worse than Dr. Fauci until you met Merrick Garland.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, and thank you, and thanks for what you do, standing up for freedom, standing up for the Constitution. We appreciate that, and your family as well. I know you got a daughter who's running for a pretty big office.
She's doing good.
Yeah, and she did great work for the best president we've certainly had in my lifetime, maybe the whole history of the country. So I appreciate that as well. But yeah, when you have an attorney general sick the full power of the Justice Department on moms and dads.
Yeah.
Moms and dads who were simply standing up and saying, don't teach this racist, hate America curriculum to our kids. And the FBI counterterrorism division gets involved in giving them a label, calling them a threat tag, a terrorist tag to their name. So that memo that went out, that email that went out on the 20th of October to FBI agents around the country from the counterterrorism division at the FBI went out the day before Merrick Garland stood in front of us and said, oh, no. We're not labeling anyone a domestic terrorist. And so he needs to come back and explain why he said one thing, and it sure looks like something else was in fact happening, because you're not supposed to do that. Maybe you know that, Governor. You're not supposed to come into Congress and tell him something that isn't accurate. And I think he did. So we'll see if he comes back. And I'm going to ask him one simple question. What's the number? How many parents have got that label on them today as we speak? That is frightening. And that's not supposed to be how it works in our great country. It's supposed to be equal treatment under the law, a Justice Department that's not political but fair.
Your new book, Do What You Said You Would Do. I love the title because I think it's the frustration that so many people have with the people in public office. They say one thing when they get elected. They go and they don't do it.
Yeah.
You're one of those rare exceptions. You've done exactly what you said.
I appreciate that.
I try to. You do.
I always say I think we make the job too complicated. What'd you tell the voters you were going to do when you put your name on the ballot? If you get the privilege of serving, go do that. And recognize that in the history of our country, the greatest nation ever, only about 12,000 people have had the opportunity to serve in the United States Congress. So if you get that privilege, if you get that opportunity, you should probably do what you told them you were going to do what they sent you there to do. And the best example of that is President Trump. I mean, think about when he got elected, he did more of what he said. He said he'd cut taxes, he did. He said he'd reduce regulations, he did. He said he put the embassy in Jerusalem, he did. He said he put conservatives on the court. You just keep going. He said he'd build the wall. You can go right down the list. And that's what we need. Frankly, that's what the American people deserve. So I try to do that.
And thank goodness you do. I think most of us believe that the Democrats have overplayed their hand. They're going to lose certainly the House and likely the Senate next year. Will the Republicans, we know that there's a few of you who will. I believe Kevin McCarthy is a good guy and will do it. But are there some folks, enough of them, that will do in the next Congress, what has to be done.
Yeah, Kevin just gave a 9-hour speech on the floor of the House, too. God bless
right.
him. No, I think when we now see how bad it got in 10 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lady at a little town hall type meeting. This is a few months ago. And she's been probably in her 70s. And she looked at me and she started to get tears in her eyes.
Yeah.
She said, I never thought it could get this bad this quick. So I think in light of that, what we've seen the Democrats do with full control of the federal government, and maybe most importantly, what they've done to the First Amendment. I mean, you think about it. Every right we enjoy as Americans under the First Amendment has been assaulted. Your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, every one. There are still churches today, still places in America today where a full congregation cannot meet on a Sunday morning. Your right to assemble, I spoke to the New Mexico Republican Party. This is about 6 months ago. The New Mexico Republican Party in Amarillo, Texas, because they couldn't assemble in their state. They had to go to Texas to get freedom. And you can but the most important one of all, the most important right we have as Americans is your right to speak, your right to talk. And that's what they're coming after most, because it's even more important than your right to practice your faith, because if you can't speak, how do you practice your faith? How do you share your faith?
Yeah.
That's what the left is after. If you disagree with the left today, it's not fair enough to have a debate today with the left. If you disagree with them, that you can't have a debate. They'll say you're a racist, you're not allowed to talk, and they'll try to cancel you. And that is so wrong. That's what I think is ultimately going to bring us together, and why we will fight to do what we said we'd do if we get power.
Absolutely wonderful. For 4 years, we had to listen to Russia, that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. The Durham indictments now make it pretty clear that there was collusion with the Russians, but it wasn't Donald Trump. It was the Hillary Clinton campaign. They were accusing Trump of doing what they were doing. Yeah. That's your committee. If Republicans win, you become chairman of that committee. Yeah. Can we count on you guys to chase this to the very end of the earth?
I got a call from President Trump yesterday, and he started, but I actually missed his call, so I called him back. And when he gets on, all he says is, Jim, never forget. He says, never forget what they're doing now. All the crazy things they're doing, we have to hold them accountable. And I said, I agree, Mr. President. And frankly, for the American people to have confidence in our judicial system and everything else and holding people accountable, we have to. So, yeah, we will do that. We got to look into what the Justice Department has done to parents. Yep. We got to look into Dr. Fauci and how he misled us over the last year and a half about how this thing started. The Ways and Means Committee has to look into the fact that thousands of Americans' tax returns became public. That is not supposed to happen in our country.
Absolutely
and
not.
We certainly have to look at this whole thing that they tried to use to take out, to remove President Trump from office. And it was all a joke. I said to someone, the only thing we had wrong, and remember, there were just a few people in the media and a handful of us in the Congress back in 2017 that said, this doesn't make sense. There's not, and we started digging into it. The only thing we had wrong is it was worse than we thought. It was worse than we thought. And finally, now the special counsel, Mr. Durham, has indicted Mr. Zussman and Mr. Danchenko. And I think he's going to try to get to the source. And we know that's the Clinton campaign. The one thing I keep coming back to is I don't know how the FBI didn't know. Yeah. Because when Zussman walks into the FBI, he forgot all the Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS and all the middlemen. Mr. Zussman from the Perkins Coie law firm working for Clinton just walked straight into the FBI, handed them false information. And not just anyone at the FBI. He went in and talked to the chief counsel, Jim Baker. Now, how did Jim Baker not know? So I hope Mr. Durham pursues that. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, one thing I hope people will pursue is getting this book and reading it. Do what you said you would do. It will make you appreciate Congressman Jim Jordan as much as I do. It'll also help you understand what's going on in Washington and to give you a little hope that there's people there that are working to fix it. He's one of them. Now, if you want to keep up with the congressman and all the work that he's doing, please check out this book that I've just mentioned. And also, for more details about how to get in touch with him and all things Jim Jordan, go to the website, Huckabee.tv. There's a link to his website and to the book and how to get it. So go there right away.